In what was the final Thunderdome show, we are going to review Monday Night Raw that aired last night, July 12th, 2021, and we're going to break it all down, including Charlotte's attack on Rhea Ripley, Nikki Ash's first credible win since her return, and Xavier Woods has the biggest win, arguably, of his career over Bobby Lashley, and yet Bobby Lashley has been reborn. So we're going to talk about that and so much more right after this.
4 out of 5 wrestling fans would tell you to subscribe to Radio Free Pro Wrestling on Apple Podcast or Spotify. The fifth, you ask? Oh, we haven't seen him in a long time.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis. Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Monday Night Raw review here on the WWE Podcast. And hallelujah, or actually, I think, oh hell yeah is a more appropriate phrase, to celebrate the conclusion of the Thunderdome era. No longer do we have to watch LED boards. No longer do we have to be told that it's an award-winning and critically acclaimed TV show format. It is just going to be live human beings like you, like me, in front of the WWE wrestlers, telling Vince exactly what we think. So their days, WWE's days of playing God are over. And I don't think I could be more excited than I am. And I want to make sure that you guys know I will be watching SmackDown this week live when everyone else does. So those of you on Patreon, join me on the Discord server. It's on the same place that we had our pay-per-view discussions. Join me there. And if you want to go on Patreon and join us for the fun, head on over there, and for $1 you get not just access to the server and a little VIP area for all the patrons, but also ad-free for everything there, as well as some of the goodies and shout-outs and things. So explore that if you're interested, or just head on over to Apple Podcasts if you want ad-free and click the subscribe button. If you want to become a subscriber on Apple Podcasts, you can do that, and it gives you a free trial for 3 days, and then it's $2.99 a month. So not bad for all the shows that we do ad-free, including What If ad-free, which What If is now a part of our normal feed per your guys' request. And to the patrons who are in that $10 tier or higher, we have some special editions, like I said, coming on the show, which is normally reserved for the top tier, and video, which is coming in the next day or so. So that said, guys, Monday Night Raw. I will say I was furious, losing my mind when Xavier Woods beat Bobby Lashley with none other than the most devastating finish in all of pro wrestling, the roll-up. I don't care what you call it, the schoolboy, the inside cradle, okay? I don't care what you call it, it's a roll-up, okay? So whatever iteration of the roll-up that you are going to try to reference, it's all one and the same. It's all under the same umbrella. And I was furious that Xavier Woods won. And when it was announced that Bobby Lashley was going to come back on the MVP VIP lounge, I said, all right, they got something set up. Is Brock coming back? I actually was trying to avoid his social media over the last 24 hours. For some reason, Brock Lesnar was trending. And I saw some quick things on him. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to know. Don't tell me they spoiled his return on the Thunderdome. And thank God they didn't. I actually thought that they did, and I saw a bunch of tweets, and I was just really worried that they had completely ruined Brock's return. And again, they didn't. Good thing. And I guess he was trending because a photo has surfaced of him with a crazy haircut. He has got like a ponytail. He looks bizarre. Somebody sent it to me on Instagram too. If that photo is valid and Brock comes back like that, it's going to be really weird. Brock should just stick with the way Brock looks, in that kind of like high cut military haircut. I don't need Brock in a ponytail. He's a 40-some-year-old man. Please, no. But that said, Brock Lesnar's return is imminent. There's no if, and, or but about it. All signs point to Brock Lesnar. I would be shocked if it's not Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, but we'll get to there when we get there. As far as Monday Night Raw goes, again, I was absolutely irate when Bobby Lashley lost. And what they did at the end, I think, did a lot of repair to Bobby Lashley. And it did more for Bobby Lashley in one night than I think it has done for Bobby Lashley that they've done for Bobby in about 2 months. Because ever since he started with these women and the champagne, it's exactly right. Bobby Lashley addressed that. And I'm glad he didn't turn on MVP. I'm glad that he didn't turn on MVP, but he acknowledged that ever since I started doing this, maybe I have become soft. And what Kofi was saying rang true. And that was easily Bobby Lashley's best promo that he's had in WWE since returning several years ago. Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania was like 4 or 5 years ago now, when he was with, who was it? I can't remember his name. The one that was the 5-second pose, and he would just basically show his backside. It was bad. Leo Rush, that's who he was with. And so the repair that he did was great, because the promo was great. You talk about believable. That was Bobby Lashley just coming out, just feeling from his guts and threatening Kofi's livelihood. So why don't we just take a listen to this? This is the final minute or so of Monday Night Raw. I'm going to listen along with you, and I want you to, if you want, pull it up on your phone or wherever you watch Raw. Just look in Bobby's eyes, his temperament. He's not in a promo voice. He's just a man speaking. Take a listen.
Kofi, I'm going to do this weekend what I should have done weeks ago. I'm going to tear you in half. I am going to go in to Money in the Bank, the almighty WWE champion, and I'm going to leave the almighty WWE champion. So I hope you bring your family and your friends and the whole damn WWE universe to get your back. Because I am going to dismantle you and do everything that I said I was going to do. Kofi, I hope you're ready to fight. Not just for this WWE championship, but for your life. Because I'm gonna cave your skull in, I'm gonna wring your little neck, and then I'm gonna fold you up in a little box, and I'm gonna send it to the circus with the rest of the little clowns. Oh yeah, the circus is dead. And after this Sunday, so is your career.
So I will just say this. The look in Bobby Lashley's eyes, it's a look I have not seen since he's returned. A lot of the angry eyes have been manufactured. There was something more real about this. Whatever Bobby Lashley did here, duplicate it. This was Bobby Lashley being reborn. This was Bobby Lashley doing some damage control from his loss earlier in the night to Xavier effing Woods. And it is, I think, the starting point of a rebuild to Brock Lesnar. I think a lot of this has to actually do with Brock Lesnar, because in that loss, they wanted to achieve a couple of things. They wanted to show that Bobby Lashley's beatable, and by extension, he is beatable at the pay-per-view, because Kofi is a similarly styled wrestler where he could surprise Bobby with a roll-up. That's the only way he's going to ever beat Bobby, right? That's the only avenue that Kofi Kingston has to realistically defeat Bobby Lashley as some kind of surprise victory with a roll up or pulling the tights or something like that. He's a babyface, so we won't do that. But that type of victory is the only way he's going to beat Bobby. Now, that was the first part. The second part of this was to break down Bobby Lashley, to make him realize that he went soft with all of these things, and from here on out, he said the only joy he's going to get is from crushing people's skulls and inflicting pain. That is the Bobby we need. To hell with the women, to hell with the champagne. It is time to get back to his roots. It's time to get back to what brought him to the dance, what made him what he is: intensity, destruction, and apparently cutting really good promos now. This is easily his number one promo. It's far and away his best promo in just a couple of minutes that he's ever had, and to my knowledge, in WWE, even through his beloved ECW run, the terrible ECW run, but that's what I mean by that. The Umaga, Bobby Lashley, hair versus hair, McMahon versus Trump match. I think it was in 2007 at WrestleMania 23. Like, none of that even is in comparison to what happened here. And it's like Bobby Lashley has come alive. And what I hope, again, so the second part of this was to build Bobby Lashley back to being a complete and total monster. And this, to me, sets up a complete dominant performance by Bobby Lashley this Sunday. I don't need any kind of hope spots for Kofi. Like I said, and I stick by this 1,000%, I want to see Kofi Kingston get absolutely dismantled. I want to see exactly what Bobby Lashley said he's going to do. I want to see Kofi Kingston ripped in half. I want to see his career ended. I do. And I don't mean in real life. I'm not advocating for the man to be injured and no. But I'm saying the character. If the character retired, I wouldn't bat an eye, blink. I wouldn't lose an ounce of sleep. Nothing. That's exactly what I want. And I will say this too. They got their WWE got their last licks in of playing God with that pumped in crowd noise of booing Bobby Lashley. I think the reaction's going to be a bit different come Sunday. In front of a live audience where they are just glad Drew McIntyre's not champion. I think Kofi Kingston is nothing but annoying. You guys know how I feel about him. He is just awful as a character in every way. Good man, good in the ring, but just completely repellent on screen. Worse than The Miz and Morrison at this point. So I think you could easily have a scenario where it's 70-30 or more pro Bobby Lashley. Because what exactly are we supposed to dislike about Bobby? Somebody give me something heelish about him. Tell me what we're supposed to dislike. I want to know. Oh, because he had ladies? Well, he got rid of them. He's got MVP? Well, he doesn't need them. Right? I think we are seeing the rebirth of Bobby. Now, this could go nowhere. We could have a very competitive match, and a match where, as Cole would always put it, a very game Kofi, or Kofi took Bobby Lashley to the limit. All that crap corporate lingo that they always try to instill in us when a competitor, even in a losing effort, they're trying to get over. And I know that's their job, but I don't need that. You don't always need everyone on a level playing ground where you feel like anyone could beat anyone. That's a terrible way to book. And someone may say, well, no, you want to feel like that. You want to feel like anyone can beat anyone. That's the unpredictability. No. You know what's great about the real sports world? And I say real sports like I'm talking about professional sports. I do consider wrestling a sport, but I'm talking about professional sports, competitive sports like MLB, NFL, NBA, NHL. You know what's great about them? When you have a true underdog beat somebody they're not supposed to beat. And it makes for a great Cinderella story sometimes. a la Daniel Bryan. And what's not great is, what if everyone was 500? Same in baseball. Everybody was 500. You win one, you lose one, you win one, you lose one. So you're just breaking even. In what world is that interesting? In what world do you want to feel like anyone can beat anyone? There has to be a hierarchy. Things should be stacked vertically. It should be stacked vertically, guys. So I don't need a competitive Kofi. I really, truly want Kofi Kingston to be completely dismantled and actually have his career ended. That sounds harsh. I don't care. That's what I want. And I'm sticking by it. So I am 3,000% behind Bobby Lashley at the pay-per-view. I hope that the crowd also, in kind, feels the same way. And they don't just cheer for Kofi because, ooh, it's Kofi Mania 2. Let's try to recreate something that was an organic movement, so let's try to redo that. No. There's nothing redeeming about Kofi Kingston. There's nothing that is, to me, exciting about Kofi. There's nothing fun about Kofi. The character of Kofi Kingston is my antithesis, the antithesis of my being. That's what Kofi Kingston is, along with Xavier Woods. And I think Xavier has a hell of a future ahead of him. And, I thought about this. What do you guys think about this as I get off the rant of Kofi? What about Xavier Woods turning on Kofi at the pay-per-view? Where you have Kofi in a spot where he looks like he could win the championship and Xavier Woods screws him. Now, the only part I'd be concerned about with that is you have Bobby Lashley, who just did all this damage control over, apparently needing help to win, right? You don't want that. And that's the only thing I'd be concerned about. I don't want Kofi to ever put Bobby Lashley in jeopardy. I want this to be a boring squash match. I want zero offense from Kofi. But if you're going to do, if anything, if you're going to make it competitive, the only way I'd accept it to be competitive is if you have Xavier Woods turn heel, because that does two things. Number one, it creates another single star, and of which I think Xavier Woods does have a lot more potential other than just being a wannabe Power Ranger on a weekly basis. I think there's that. You also create a really hot heel immediately. And Kofi Kingston would be the default babyface, trying to get revenge on Xavier, talking about his broken heart, and we've been brothers for so many years, and there's a story there. So perhaps Xavier, out of jealousy, out of spite, out of secret hatred, whatever it may be, screws Kofi Kingston at the pay-per-view, and you get an Xavier versus Kofi Kingston match at SummerSlam. Because God knows we don't need to see them in another tag team match. Ever. So let me know what you guys think about that. To me, that would be infinitely more interesting. And I would sacrifice a competitive match to see that, because you get two big benefits right off the bat. New Day gone. That gimmick is hopefully dead and buried forever. Although it won't be, because there'll be reunions and there'll be the Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. And probably an eventual babyface turn again. But you get an immediate hot heel and the breakup of the New Day. And you have Bobby Lashley retain. So let me know what you guys think about that. The more I talk about it, the more I'm talking myself into wanting that, even at the expense of a competitive match. So, all right. Well, I want to move on here and talk about Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. And, I still don't know what they're doing here. It seems as if they need a mega babyface, and quickly. I would still say Charlotte's the babyface in this one. She only did what she did on Raw because of what Rhea did to her. It's tit for tat here. And we had Rhea Ripley win her match against Natalya in what was a competitive match and good match. I think they matched up nicer or better than I thought they would. And Rhea Ripley ends up winning with Riptide. And then Charlotte Flair comes out and takes out her leg and puts her in a figure 4 leg lock hanging off the edge of the ring. And it was great. I loved it. I loved seeing Rhea Ripley get her ass kicked. I think Charlotte is justified. They pump in boos. They keep pumping in boos. I'm like, what has Charlotte done to be booed here? I don't care if she tells me to bow down. I don't care if she calls herself the queen. Hell, we have Bianca Belair telling us on a weekly basis she's the EST of everything. Fastest, strongest, best, prettiest, whatever it may be. and we don't care about that, right? So the fact that she's calling herself the queen is of no, it's really immaterial. It's of no consequence to me, and is zero factor in trying to tell me she's a heel. So another reason I can't wait for fans to come back and give a real response. The days of playing God are over, guys. They are finally over. So I enjoyed it, and I think it heated up the rivalry nicely. Made you want to see the match on Sunday, and again, with the laws of WWE, typically, not all the time, but typically, the one who gets the advantage on the show before the pay-per-view ends up losing at the pay-per-view. That's not tried and true, but it's I think a general statement that's generally true. If I were going to put in percentages, I'd say maybe 60 to 70% of the time that's true. So that would tell me that Rhea Ripley is, if you're going with this logic and following it, that Rhea Ripley is going to retain at the pay-per-view. And then bam, either Becky Lynch returns that night or returns the Monday Night Raw after the pay-per-view. So that could very well be the case as well, because boy, oh boy, are they in need of a babyface. I mean, serious. Somebody please tell me who the top babyface is on Raw for the women. Alexa? Nope. Asuka? Nope. Naomi? Maybe? Right? Like, Natalia? Who is it, guys? Seriously. I mean, it's a real question. But so they are in desperate need of a top babyface, and a Becky Lynch would be a massive gain for the women's division. So there is that, and it would be apropos. She returns at the pay-per-view that she had to give up her championship at, even though that was in May of 2020. This is now in July of 2021. It's still at the same pay-per-view. So there is that, but I like the build here with Rhea and Charlotte. I am looking forward to it, as much as I hate the Rhea Ripley character, or at least how they've portrayed it. They're at least pumping in heel, boos for her appropriately, and this is, by WWE logic, this is a heel versus heel match, and they've done this now a couple of times. It's very, very uncommon that they do heel and heel, but I like the build. And on a side note with Bobby and Kofi, the last thing I'll say on that is I actually like the build that they've done. It does make me want to see the match. So, and then just, props all the way around, even to Kofi, who I as you know, I can't stand, but they did a nice job of promoting that match. All right, we're going to take a quick break and then get to Drew McIntyre committing vandalism live on Monday Night Raw right after this.
4 out of 5 wrestling fans would tell you to subscribe to Radio Free Pro Wrestling on Apple Podcast or Spotify. The fifth, you ask? Oh, we haven't seen him in a long time.
All right. Well, welcome back. Thank you for staying with us, and let's talk about Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre, the Sword. Yet another terrible analogy by Drew McIntyre, who continues to push his history, educational, just promo style that has just zero relevance. I've broke this down before. It's not entertaining. There's seriously zero value to this. It's not even informative, right? Like, even if you looked at this from a historical perspective in terms of accuracy, it's just a lot of this doesn't make sense. It's just stupid, to use a very layman's term. It's just plain dumb, and it's hurting Drew. And I'm very, very interested in the crowd reaction he gets on Sunday, which the more I think about, the more, I'm thinking he might be able to win, but I don't think they will. Even if Drew, you can't cash in on Lashley, and if the draft happens, we all know that his target would be Roman Reigns. And do you really want to spoil that and have it just be a surprise and maybe he wins the Rumble? I don't know, something like that. But the more I think about it, they won't, because they also don't want to turn him heel, and I think that would effectively turn him heel as well. So, but we have this program here with Jinder Mahal and Drew, and they're stealing each other's property like children and committing vandalism on air. And Jinder and Veer and Shanky are in the ring, and they are in the ring, and they have presumably Drew McIntyre's family heirloom sword in the ring, and he's apologizing to Drew and saying, "Come on out here, come get your sword. I'm sorry." And Drew appears on screen, and it's revealed that Jinder has destroyed the sword. Yet Drew reveals that what he has is actually a replica, not the true sword. But fine, I guess he's carrying replicas around. I don't know why. If it's a replica, why? I mean, I don't. Sheamus gave it to him, right? And it was the real one then. So either Sheamus gave him a replica, or Drew took the real one, and then on a weekly basis since then has been using the replica. And how would he have known that his sword was going to be stolen? Like, I just think too much into some of the stories. But at the same time, Drew not only gets the best of Jinder by telling him it's just a replica, but also by tearing apart his motorcycle in the parking lot and just ripping it apart with his bare hands and then kicking it over. And Jinder Mahal is giving his mean face. And I don't really actually hate this. It is very, very kind of bland and kind of, I guess, cookie cutter is a good word for a storyline here. And they're just mad at each other because they're destroying each other's property. Like, I think that's it. They haven't got into really the history yet. Jinder said we have a lot of history, but they didn't go into what that history is. I think it would behoove them to remind people what that history is so people care. But clearly this is a program, I think, that's going all the way to SummerSlam. Jinder Mahal versus Drew McIntyre, I think, is going to SummerSlam. And that, I'm okay with that. I really am. I am, because obviously they don't have a match on Sunday. I think Jinder's going to screw Drew McIntyre out of the briefcase to a lot of cheers at the pay-per-view. And then you're going to see them square off at SummerSlam. I think that's where they're going, and that's fine. That's totally fine to me. So now again, we have Drew destroying Jinder's motorcycle. Is it me, or is it weird seeing Jinder Mahal on a motorcycle? It's just bizarre. I don't know why it doesn't fit. Maybe because he's a modern day Maharaja, so I guess I was used to him. Like, I don't know. What was he doing when he was the champion as the modern day Maharaja? He was, I don't know. I'm envisioning him coming in on an elephant. That's not like Aladdin or something. That's not the case. But him on a motorcycle is bizarre. It's weird. But whatever. Fine. He destroyed his motorcycle. And we get the mean mug from Jinder. So, okay. Moving on here. Asuka versus Naomi versus Nikki Ash versus Alexa Bliss. And this is these are the four women that are, and this was a fatal four-way, but they're the women who are going to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match on Sunday. So this is all about, get ready for it, guys. Get ready for it. Momentum. Dun dun dun. Right? It's that all important momentum that, on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, we are reminded that means absolutely nothing. Match by match, moment by moment, move by move in a match, they constantly are talking about momentum. Tell me they're not. He's starting to build momentum, as Byron would say. And then 5 seconds later, it gets reversed. And then it gets reversed again, right? It's so back and forth and back and forth. And then they're trying to not just talk about momentum within matches, but also extrapolate that to like pay-per-views and getting victories leading up to pay-per-views as if that actually has any kind of impact on the pay-per-view itself. It doesn't. So I just, every time I hear the word momentum, my brain immediately tunes out because it has no bearing and they have no proof of the fact that they're right about momentum. Like it's not a thing. I'm sorry. It's not in pro wrestling anyway. At least when they try to present it as such. You can see somebody being built and they do have real momentum, but momentum is real in pro wrestling when the announcers don't talk about it, right? Like when they don't tell you that this person's building momentum, then it's kind of manufactured, artificial. But when somebody's actually gaining steam and progressing up the ranks and all that kind of thing, very rarely would the announcers ever talk about momentum then. It's almost like they think momentum's something different than we do. But anyway, we got this match here, and I mean, it was fine. We had Eva Marie and Doudrop, who apparently isn't able to speak. I mean, we got a couple words out of her, I think, but Eva Marie is cutting her off at every turn. We still don't understand the relationship there. I don't know if we ever will. Probably not. But Nikki was able to get the win over Asuka with a, get ready, get ready, I'm saying that a lot tonight, the roll-up. And she jumped around and celebrated while Naomi and Asuka just looked completely dejected. I'm reading, just making sure, again, guys, I read the Bleacher Report, making sure that I get everything, all the details in this. And again, this was a fine match. I didn't dislike this match. It was a little weird hearing Eva Marie calling Alexa Bliss Lexi. Where's Lexi? Where's Lexi? After she was body dropped on the outside of the barricade next to the LED boards. And you know what's funny? With all the camera angles, the inexplicable camera angles that WWE has planted everywhere conveniently when somebody's roaming backstage into a room that apparently has a camera there, all that kind of crap, they seemingly can't get a camera where where people are being dropped by the LED boards. Now, it's clear that they have some kind of crash pad. That's fine. It's about safety. But it's just one of those things that you notice that isn't happening, is they don't have camera angles for those things. And Alexa Bliss disappeared. She didn't return. It's interesting that she's still trying to use the Sister Abigail. I noticed that during the match. She's still trying to use the Sister Abigail. So do they dare try to reunite her with the Fiend upon his return? I don't know. You know, I'm a little concerned about Alexa Bliss right now. She's waning. She's not in a good spot. I will say that. She feels like she's about ready for a change, whatever that change may be. Like I said, somebody perhaps finds the antidote to snap her out of this. You know, maybe that's it. And I'm fine with that. Or they just go full bore, double down on this and go all the way dark again in a different way. I don't know. But one thing is clear. They need to do something with Alexa Bliss right now, because she's starting to become a little, I don't want to say boring, but weirdly boring. So I hate saying that, because she did such a great job for such a long time. But that's just the nature of the business, right? When you feel like you're a little stale, you probably are. And it feels like Alexa needs something. So Nikki was able to get the win over Asuka again with the roll-up. So there you go with the roll-up. But at least this wasn't a count-out victory or a beat-the-clock challenge victory or anything like that. This was Nikki's first legitimate win. And I say that still kind of in air quotes, because until she gets that hit her finish and victory clean, that would be the most decisive, definitive victory she could have. And she still has not had that yet. So this is the closest, though. I'll take it. So, but as far as, again, Eva Marie is just awful. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. What the hell? This is my show. The hell with Eva Marie. If she's not going to get in the ring, and that's her whole gimmick, you can't do that forever. And I'm not saying that as, I just want her to get in the ring, get her ass kicked. No, I'm just at the kind of apathetic point. I'm in the indifferent point of, like, I don't care to see Eva Marie. Because if that's going to be your gimmick, that you can only run that. That's got a very short shelf life before fans just don't care anymore. And yes, she's got Doudrop, but what do we know about her other than she's a big woman that is the bodyguard for Eva Marie? That's it. That's all we know. That's it. So, all right, AJ Styles versus Ivar. Ivar ended up getting the victory here with a version of the seated senton from the corner. This was not on the Hulu version of Raw, so I'm surprised that Ivar got a victory here, honestly. This is one of those deals where I think they're actually signaling that it's time for a title change. Not to kind of tip my hat and tip my picks for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, but I think this is certainly going to be the most jeopardy that those championships have been in. And the Viking Raiders have a little bit, here it comes, momentum, and real momentum. Like, they actually feel sort of relevant for the first time in a long time. So I'm good with it. I'm good with that change. Let's see here. Eric versus Omos or Omos. We got Omos picking up the victory here with a two-handed choke slam. I mean, I don't even... It was as short as you'd expect here. And he's a big dude who's got a great presence. And sometimes that's all you need to at least get your foot in the door, get started, and that's clearly what that's done here. But longevity is going to require more than just a good presence and that you tower over everyone. Like, your look is good too, but you eventually have to deliver in the ring. You're going to eventually have to just deliver on something more than just how you look and what your presence is. But that said, presence in the ring is something you can't teach. So that is true. All right. Now we get to a match that I have very mixed feelings about. And that's Ricochet versus John Morrison. These two have fought for the last several weeks. And it's been enjoyable because they have very, very similar styles, very similar body types, very similar move sets. And sometimes that doesn't play to the strengths of each man or woman, because sometimes that can be, the same kind of magnet charge repelling itself. That's the analogy my brain came up with. You know how you sometimes put two magnets together, and it's got the tension there, but you flip it around and they stick together? Well, luckily, these are the magnets that stick together. I mean, they're really good together. And I have no problem with them wrestling. I guess I have a couple concerns, though. And it's on a human level for the first thing. On a human level, for Ricochet especially, what is the shelf life of a guy that works like that? In his style, the shelf life of a guy like that is considerably shorter than a grappler, I would say. And that is concerning. And, not just for the longevity of his career, but really his health on a nightly basis. The moves he does are really breathtaking. They're inhuman. He is the resident superhero, or this whatever weird kind of analogy they initially gave him. But I really do worry for the man himself, because those moves, one miscalculation, he's in big trouble. So I do worry for him on that level. Some of the things he does, like I hold my breath with a lot of the stuff. When he goes to the top rope, I'm like, okay, we could see the X go up right now, right, from the referee. And, luckily for his sake and his opponent's sake, that hasn't happened. But you can only roll the dice so many times. Even if he doesn't end up getting seriously injured, which obviously I'm not advocating for at all, I think that the bumps and bruises you take with those moves that he does will shorten your career. There is no way around that. So I don't think that he can work at that level for an extended period of time without eventually starting to degrade and his performance decline. At which case he could change up his style. I mean, that's actually how Stone Cold became a brawler. He was originally a technician until Owen Hart dropped him on his head at SummerSlam 97, and Austin was forced to change his style into a more brawling style. And so, things like that, where lightning in a bottle can help, and just kind of a happy coincidence. But I don't know. I just worry for the man, and I don't know what his shelf life is with that kind of style. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, while I absolutely respect both men, and I thought it was a really good match, I also still have a hard time accepting this as what the general public, view as a great match. What I mean by that is, while I appreciate the athleticism and the sacrifice on their bodies and all the work they put in, I really, truly do. I do. I also have a hard time accepting this as the definition of what a great match is in 2021. And it evolves over time. I mean, what we saw in the 80s of a great match was Hogan Andre, right? Or Ultimate Warrior and Hogan, or Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon, or Flair Steamboat, and that kind of thing. And the definition of what people, the general public, views as a great match evolves over time, just as everything else does in life. I still just am not on board with this being the pinnacle of what great matches are. And the reason is because this has become more about gymnastics than it has about storytelling, where registering what happens to you rather than selling what happens to you. Example, if you're kind of like, where's he going with this? If someone knees you in the face full speed, you should go down. And Ricochet does go down. He does what he's supposed to. He registers that he got knocked in the face by a knee. But within a minute, he's back on offense as if he didn't just get, again, clobbered in the head with a knee or a foot. And something like that should cause fog in your brain. You should be stumbling around, not sure where you're at. I mean, I understand you can't oversell everything, but we've gotten to a point in wrestling where moves that should give you concussion after concussion after concussion are ravenous. They are rapid fire. It's that kind of move after another, after another, after another. Chain wrestling's gone away. Grappling has gone away. It has become a gymnastics spot fest. And there is an audience for that. I'm not trying to put down anybody that enjoys this type of wrestling. It is fun to watch. But I'll use the fireworks analogy again. It is like watching fireworks because everything's happening so quick. You don't have time to digest what's going on. They're really big and cool moves, but you're always looking for the next and the next and the next and the next, rather than taking the time to tell a good story, do deep character development. I think the depth of this rivalry is circled around a super soaker. I'm fairly sure on that. That is, really, and they're actually selling. They're actually, when they get squirted, they're selling the water. I'm like, wait, what? You've never gotten squirted with a super soaker? Is it secretly vinegar in there or something? I mean, maybe that would explain it, but you shouldn't be selling somebody spraying water on you. So, don't take a bump for the water. It felt like they were going to do that almost. So, the whole thing centered around that, and it's just, it's awful. And everything with John Morrison has to be something related to wetness, right? Everything has to be, it's the moist, the whatever moist or must or whatever kind of play on words that he has on a weekly basis. It's not good. And so there is a massive lack of character development. We have Ricochet, who's El Generico. And what I mean by that is not in ring. In ring, he's otherworldly. Personality, he's just El Generico. We know nothing about Ricochet. He's a good looking dude. He seems confident, but he's just kind of flatlined. I'm like, give me something with Ricochet that I can understand, or at least that is different or unique, or just give me something. They've given us nothing. I think they rely too heavily on the fact that, you can have a, quote, great match by today's standards in the ring. And so that's what's going to carry him through. Well, yeah, for a short time. But I want to get to know the human being, Ricochet. I think he's an excellent, excellent performer. But anyway, so that's my thought on today's style of wrestling. All registering, no selling, and just a gymnastics spot fest. So if you love that, really cool. I think that's great. Seriously, because the wrestling that I saw, that I fell in love with, I'm sure that the generation before me would have said, that's crap, right? So it's all, am I really the old guy now? Am I really that old guy that's complaining about the product today, these damn kids and Gen Z? Am I really? No, I refuse to be. I refuse to be. Oh, gosh. great match though. It really was I shouldn't say great. It was entertaining, but I wasn't emotionally invested, if that makes sense. So you have one component, but to me, you don't have the other, the most important emotional investment. So, all right. Well, I think that does it for me on the Monday Night Raw review, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. And the final ever Thunderdome that we never, hopefully, I shouldn't say never, but hopefully we never, ever have to see this Thunderdome again, and that we all can just move the hell on and get back to life as we knew it prior to the whole pandemic in March of 2020. Guys, this is so crazy, right? Like March of 2020 was 17 months ago. It's March. This is July. So yeah, like 17 months it's been to the day that we had the first ever show with no fans. And just a hell of a weird moment. And actually, I last night dropped a surprise Thunderdome best and worst moments of in the review. So it's only an hour show. I mean, there's tons of different things that I'm sure I missed, including the women's division. I think was a really bad thing that happened in the pandemic era, or at least got ignored. The Raw Women's Championship was something that just got completely forgotten. I mean, seriously forgotten in the women's division on Raw. So I did miss that looking back, but I did cover a lot of other stuff. So if you want, you can take a listen to that. It's in the prior show. I did cover all of my good and bad big things anyway, and that came to my mind that happened during the pandemic era. So take a listen to that. Join us on Patreon, guys, because we're going to be doing the Discord server, a live chat during the first ever SmackDown back in front of fans, the first show live back in front of fans, leading up to the first pay-per-view back in front of fans since WrestleMania, and then the first Monday Night Raw back in front of fans in 17 months as well. So there's a lot to be looking forward to over the next week in WWE. It's going to be a blast. I think a week from now, we're going to be talking probably at least two big returns that happened. And so don't forget to join us this week, guys, because tomorrow is going to be the mailbag, which is on the free feed. Wrestling Nostalgia is going to be back, and it's going to be it's going to be on Patreon and on Apple Podcasts exclusively. It will not be in the free feed. And then Thursday, Anthony DeMarco and I are recording our What If segment, our What If show, and that'll be dropping maybe Thursday night as well. And then, Saturday we're getting right into the preview and prediction show, which I will have a co-host, I promise. I haven't had a co-host on here in quite a while. It's time to bring somebody back. I think I know who I want. I think I've got that person in mind for the preview and prediction show of Money in the Bank Saturday night, and it'll be dropped late Saturday night, so you can listen to it either late Saturday night or early Sunday morning, and then get yourself ready. And as well, rivalries, NXT, AEW Dynamite, the whole team's got you covered right here. Mimi Burris to Zach Smith, Michael Ritter, who will be actually at SmackDown doing a live review for SmackDown. That's going to be pretty damn cool, so maybe we'll do something with that. So, all right, guys, huge week. It feels like WrestleMania coming up these next 7 days. Everyone, get yourselves ready. Fans are back, and give me a hell yeah. I'll talk to you next time.
4 out of 5 wrestling fans would tell you to subscribe to Radio Free Pro Wrestling on Apple Podcast or Spotify. The fifth, you ask? Oh, we haven't seen him in a long time.